She has taken over the role of a mother. So if I should die now, no, I don't think I would regret my dying because I don't fear death. Because I know that I have somebody who can live by behind too. Because she's very good to me.
That was the late Reverend Mrs. Olasunbo Badejo Okusanya in an interview with the BC Olatilo show during the 50th birthday ceremony of her eldest daughter, Olori, Olabisi Tejuoso, on the 24th of July 2007. Had she had the special grace to live up to 80 years on earth, her children and other family members had planned to give her what would have turned out to be a mother of all celebrations. Sadly enough, that was not to be, as Reverend Mrs. Olasunbo Badejo Okusanya died just 2 months to her 80th birthday anniversary. One can then imagine the shock and bewilderment of the children and family members when the sad news reached them. The late Reverend Mrs. Olasunbo Badejo Okusanya, Ni Omololu's father, was a distinguished medical doctor and one of the pioneer students of King's College, Lagos, while her mother was Mrs. Christiana Olabisi Omodele Ni Onimube Johnson. She attended the New Era College for Girls and Methodist Girls High School, where she showed a lot of dexterity in public speaking and drama. 2 years after her marriage to Chief Badejo Okusanya at the age of 20 years, she went off to England and enrolled in the Pitman Secretarial College, and on her return to Nigeria, she picked up a job with Mobile Nigeria PLC. The late Reverend Mrs. Olasunbo Badejo Okusanya lost her husband 2 weeks after her 40th birthday, exactly 20 years after their marriage. Despite having lived as a widow for the past 39 years, she indeed lived a very fulfilled life, single-handedly bringing up in strict Christian and disciplined life all her children, who have given her great-grandchildren in her lifetime. The late Reverend Mrs. Olasunbo Badejo Okusanya has indeed left a great mark in the sands of time. The legacies of a God-fearing life, discipline, and service to humanity. These worthy qualities it is hoped will be further propagated by her children. Among her children are Olori Olabisi Tejuoso, wife of the monarch of Okeono-Egba in Ogun State of Nigeria, and Mr. Yomi Badejo Okusanya, a notable public relations practitioner whose communications outfit was commissioned to package the presidential campaign for Dr. Mrs. Ellen Sirleaf Johnson, the Liberian president. Reverend Mrs. Olasunbo Badejo Okusanya has other children who are riding high in their different businesses today. Her demise, although painful, was celebrated in a big way by her family members. The first of the events lined up for the final rite of passage was a service of songs. This was indeed a great celebration of heavenly songs, the type Reverend Mrs. Badejo Okusanya would have loved to listen to. There were testimonies by close family members about the great woman. The clergyman that preached eulogized the Christian life of Mama and asked her children and others to emulate her.
Many people saw my mother as an extrovert. Many people saw her as an outgoing person. Many people saw her as a socialite. But a few people saw her as a disciplinarian. She had us. And we know the way she brought us up. She didn't want us spoiled, and she didn't want us to be tarnished by the things of life. Mommy was quite strict with us. There were times even growing up, we used to wonder, well, talking on behalf of myself and my siblings, we used to think if this woman was indeed our mother, But it was until I became a mother myself, I came to realize what it was she was doing. She wanted the best for us. She wanted us to toe the straight line.
There were more soul-lifting songs which the congregation and the choir partook in. The Christian Waykeeping service also followed the same pattern of the rendition of soul-lifting songs, prayers, and a special message by the clergyman.
The new Jerusalem that would not pass away. It was the new Jerusalem that would not pass away. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, sing for the night is o'er. Hosanna in the highest, Hosanna forevermore. Hosanna in the
The lying-in state of the late Reverend Mrs. Olasunbo Badejo Okusanya took place in her residence at GRA in Ikeja, Lagos, where friends and family members filed past her remains to have a final glance of her. Cathedral Church of Christ Marina, Lagos was filled beyond capacity by those who came to pay their last respects to the late woman at the special church service to bid her a final farewell. With her body laid conspicuously for all to admire for the last time, songs of praise were rendered by the choir and the congregation. Olori Olabisi Tejuoso, Mama's eldest child, read the lesson of the service before the sermon was delivered by the officiating minister, who charged all to live a life worthy of emulation, like the late mother being celebrated.
He who overcomes will inherit all this, and I will be his God.
More songs of praise rent the air. The highlight of the church service was the Thanksgiving session, during which Mama's children and family members were joined by others to thank God for the life of the woman. Mama's remains were interred at the Bolton Gardens in Ikoyi, Lagos, after a short service. This was followed by the final dust rites. Emotions flowed freely as the children remembered their lovely mother for the last time.
Christ the Lord is risen today. Hallelujah. Christ the Lord is risen today. Hallelujah. Christ the Lord is risen.
The final phase of the celebration of the life and times of the late Madam Olasunbo Badejo Okusanya was the grand reception at the Harbour Point in Victoria Island, Lagos. The main menu here was music and general merriment. This went on for a very long time as the children and grandchildren of the late woman danced and sang to thank God for giving them a mother they are indeed proud of in every sense of the word. As we wish the late Reverend Mrs. Olasunbo Badejo Okusanya a very peaceful sojourn with the angels, we also pray that in the aftermath of her death, the Badejo Okusanya family will grow from strength to strength. Adieu, Mother in a Million.